Hi. Today we're going to cover how to install holes or cutouts into a dash panel to accommodate gauges. There's a company out there called Mittler Brothers, and they do a lot of sheet metal fabrication tools. And they actually have a 3 3/8 diameter and a 2 1/16 inch diameter punches. So we're going to go through the steps involved to put those holes cleanly and easily into your instrument panel or dash. This is a view of the gauge layout into a 1927 Model T Roadster project that we're working on. It's got a 32 Ford instrument panel, and we've modified it to fit into the 27T. The gauges we're using for this project are an NOS set of moon gauges. These are the early gauges. What's really nice about these is if you look, it says made in the good old USA. It's pretty neat. It's going to be a nice little touch for this hot rod project. To do this project, we're going to just use a piece of sheet metal to punch the holes out and do the layout. It very well could be that you're working on a dash that already has a series of instrument cutouts into it, and you want to change that panel layout. And this would be a good way to do it. Is you would cut out the old, you would make a new panel with your new layout, and then weld it in. For the 27T project, we had this cast aluminum insert, and he really liked the layout of the gauges and everything, so we're going to use this as a template onto this project. The first thing that we're going to need to do is use some Dykem steel blue layout fluid and put that over the entire surface of the panel that you're laying out. This way you'll be able to scribe marks on it, and you'll be able to see your marks. The brush in this fell through, so I'm just using a standard normal brush. And all we're going to do is brush this on and let it dry. You can force the drying time by using an air nozzle, or sometimes if it's a cast part or something like that, you could use heat. I don't like using heat or a blow dryer on the sheet metal because it has a tendency to warp the panel, and you want to try to maintain your panel as flat as possible. So I'll continue doing this, and we'll take up on this video once it's all done and dry. Now that the Dykem layout fluid is dry, we put this piece of sheet metal on a couple of pieces of wood just to elevate it, so when we drill through or do anything, we won't damage the tabletop surface. We're going to now take our panel that we are going to use for the layout, and we'll set it on there and just hold down onto it, use a scribe, and just scribe around the outer periphery of this panel. And we'll scribe for the smaller gauge openings. A large gauge opening, then these two small gauge openings. So there you go. There we have our layout. And now what we need to do is find the center of each of these gauge cutouts. There's many ways to do that, but the biggest way, the easiest way that I like to use is just a combination square that has an angle. And what you do is you just line up the edges to your scribe line and come across with a scribe. Rotate around like about 90 degrees or something like that. Line them up again, a scribe line, and that'll be your center. We'll repeat that for the other 4 openings. There's also tools that are designed to find the center, which you can buy, or you can bisect. You can do lines and bisect lines and do other things too. But this seems to work the best for me, and it's a tool that I already have, so I can purpose it again. Another advantage of, believe it or not, when you dike them, put the layout fluid onto a piece of steel, it actually helps as a rust barrier. The part does not want to flash rust as much, so sometimes when you're working on a layout or something, putting this onto the panel is a good way as a rust preventative, and it washes off with alcohol, so you don't really need to use any heavy solvents or oils or greases or whatever. So there we go. We have the centers of all of these. What I like to do is just take a measurement and just look around and make sure that we are indeed on center. We just kind of work around and see that we are, just to verify if we are where we need to be. Okay? Next, what we'll do is we'll center punch all of these, and then what we need to do is, for these punches to work, the punches are a 3-piece. You have a bolt that holds the two together. You have an upper die and a lower die. The lower die will go on the underneath of your panel. The upper die will go on the top. And as you tighten the bolt, these basically shear and punch out the hole. But you need a starter hole for the bolt to actually go into. So what we need to do is center punch those first, and then drill a hole to accommodate this, and then we'll actually do the punch. So what I'll do is I'll punch center onto these. Okay, on our panel, we've got the layout all done, and we've got the holes all center punched. So the next thing we're going to do is just center drill each of the center punch holes. Alright, so we get that all set, and put some gloves on. And then we're just going to do is just go through each one and the center drill end, and I'll just stop the next cutter from walking. There. There's no need to go all the way through, but if you do, that's okay also. Okay, I just might go through on these two just to be safe also. All right. So now we've center drilled, and the next we're going to do is use a Hogan bit to cut these. What they are they're kind of a hollow cutter, and they work really well for sheet metal. What they have is a mandrel with a spring-loaded tip, so that will go into the center drill we drilled and go from there. These two punches, make sure we've got the right size, and that is not it. There, that's the correct size. And all you do is you just screw these on and put them in your drill. What they do is they give you a cleaner hole, a slug. So like a drill, especially on these sizes on thin sheet metal, it tears the sheet metal away and it just gives a cleaner hole. Now, because we're going to be punching the whole thing and we're going to be drilling in the center, that if that's all you have are drills, then it's absolutely okay to use those, because those the ripped portion or the deformed portion from drilling will get taken out with the slug when we use the die to actually punch these out. So we're all set now, and we'll just drill these with the Hogan bit. Alright, almost done. There. Alright. And if you wanted to, you could clamp this down or clamp it in the drill press. It's just a little easier to see what we're doing here. And besides, this hole doesn't need to be perfect because it, like we said before, will be taken out with the slug. Alright. So there you go. We're all blanked out, ready to go. So what we'll do is we'll start with the small ones first. And the bolts on the top, this goes on the top, this goes on the bottom. What I like to do is put a little bit of anti-seize under the threads just to prevent galling. I like to keep my anti-seize into a syringe with a little needle. It's a lot less messier, and it's convenient to have when you need it like this, instead of reaching for the bottle and the brush and it gets all over the place. So this will go on the bottom, this on the top. Screw them together. Bring it down as far as you can till you get a little bit of resistance. And the reason why we do that is what we can do is there is a little bit of slop on the hole you drilled, and we can actually line it up on that scribe diameter really nice for location. And that's that. And then all we end up doing is I like to use a impact gun with air. I'll just go like that. That's it. Nice clean hole. Next is getting the slug out. Sometimes you just reverse it. And out comes your slug. And we'll just repeat this for the next smaller ones. Line it up. The same thing. As you can see, they go really quick. That's lined up really good. Nice speed. It's almost like a spinning top. Looks good as far as lined up. Now for the large one, again a little bit of anti-seize on the threads, a little bit on the top surface. These punches will last a really long time, and I just want to kind of keep them as nice as possible. A little bit of lubrication will stop things from galling up and just helps contribute to their long life. I know that I got a trigger on this air nozzle on this ratchet. It's making a lot of noise. It's not the fitting, it's the actual trigger, and I got to kind of tear it apart and fix that. It kind of drives me crazy. But I'll do the big one. And I could up the force and everything, but I like to go slow. And there you go. There's the big slug. So, that being said, here's your panel all done. A nice layout. Really nice holes. Just ready to be put into service. Now, like I said, we did this on a flat piece of metal to show the steps and everything. You could use, you know, a dash panel or an insert, you know, size to your panel, and then you could weld it in. Another thing that Mittler has, which is really nice, is a series of punches, and what they are they're actually radius punches. So if you had a hole like this, you could actually punch a radius onto it. It's a really nice detail. And on this bomber seat that we're building, we did just that. As you can see, this is a really nice radius detail. It looks nice. It gives it a lot more strength. What I like to do is when I'm doing things like this on aluminum is put painter's tape down. That just helps protect the surface. And also, if you're really close to an edge, you might want to put some support here while you're punching it with some pieces of steel just clamped onto it. But we'll have a video on the bomber seat, building that in the near future. But these tools are, a set of punches is a little over $100 to do the instruments. If you start buying a couple of normal hole saws, you're looking at probably 25, 30 bucks for some high quality ones. These, if you take care of them, will last a really long time. They'll probably last your lifetime. You can always grind them if you need to, if you get burrs on them or whatever. But it just makes a really nice clean hole. And what's really nice is it's a nice layout. It's in position where you want to put those. Thanks for watching, and more You Do It Hot Rod videos to come. Thanks.